preach on this.
Church hopping didn't exist in first century church. No one in Corinth was like, you know what? I'm really struggling with what's happening at our church right now. I think I'll go to Ephesus. I'll see you in 6 months. Paul writes this letter because he says you don't have an option to just leave and go someplace else. Your only option is to figure it out with each other. Your only option is to work out the gospel in your local context. Your only option is to disagree with each other and do it well. Your only option is to figure out how to love one another and do it well. Because you can't just hop on a boat or go to the next church down the street. That is our modern world at work. It's fascinating that we look at scripture through our privileged Western society because we have cars and decide I don't like that Jason was offensive that day, so I'm going to go there. But what Paul's saying is, listen guys, at a certain point, you got to move on from just jumping ship on everything, and you got to figure out how to do this together.
Can you smell the desperation of Christians? Because that is, one, first, when I was a Christian, there is no theology that justifies anything that he says. Two, historically, he is completely incorrect because the churches back during the time frame of Paul, so we're talking about mid and late first century, they were house churches in the same way that you got these small churches going around today. In the same way that in the early 1800s, in the 1800s, 1700s, most churches were house churches. So you had house churches, and people would go from house to house to house to house if they didn't like what the other person was doing in this house. So he's full of shit when he says that they didn't have different churches that they could go to. If they came here to my house and they didn't like what was going on, things weren't going the way they believed that it should go, they just went down the street to another house within their same community. It wasn't a situation where there was only one church of Corinth and one church of Ephesians and one church of the Galatians. There were many house churches all around, so he's lying right in there historically. But it just speaks to volume to the desperation that Christians are having to deal with because so many people are walking away from your church. You got people leaving your church because they know you're not teaching them the truth. You got people leaving then the religion because they realize that none of these pastors are teaching these people the truth about their own religion, and they don't even know it. And the more and more people read this book for themselves and study this book for themselves, they begin to question and they begin to walk away from this religion. So in a desperate attempt, it is you got to stay put and fix this church. And we all know what the real stay put is. Stay put so I can keep getting my money. Stay put so that them tithes stay coming in the way them tithes supposed to come in. Because you need to stay put because I still got payments on my house. Stay put because I still got payments on my car. Stay put because my kids, they ain't quite got enough money for college yet. That's what the real stay put is about. It has absolutely nothing to do with how people looked at it in ancient times. In ancient times, they hopped around. And matter of fact, in one of the letters of Paul, he's talking about how the Nicolaitans were also in the same community. I believe this is in Corinth, and that they were teaching a variation of Christianity that incorporated a lot of Hellenistic beliefs. Hellenistic practices. So even within the Bible, it demonstrates that is not necessarily true, that people had different, there was no golden era of Christianity, that there were multiple versions of Christianity, multiple churches, multiple house churches, and they were trying to establish some type of order in order to control people. But as far as what that guy's talking about and many of these pastors today, they just trying to save their money. That's about it. And when you realize that that's all they're trying to do is save their money and save their clout, you'll realize that it's time for you to walk away from this. And for those of us who have, we recognize that, and we are so much better off for it. So what do you guys think? Comment, like, share, subscribe, and always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.